We're gonna have the
Say,
same intro
clap
we
your
had last time.
hands, everybody. Everybody just clap your hands. That's
I
it,
mean,
man. How you
let's
doing?
do this. There we
Okay.
go.
Been better, been worse. Somewhere in the middle.
That's a
Mm,
good spot to be. I never thought of it that way.
mm,
It's a very good point. It's a very, very
mm.
good point.
So what's new with you? Anything?
Well, doing the moving thing and
Still moving, huh?
just blows.
You gotta
Just
get you a Felipe, man,
blows.
before they're all
Yeah.
gone. A Felipe,
What's a Felipe?
Pedro, or Jose. I mean, pick one. Well, you
Jose and
better find them
Jose?
before they're all gone.
Oh, I got a couple.
Well, you
I got
better
a
hide
couple.
them because they're
I got
coming
a
for
couple
all
out
of them.
here. Dude, they're getting nervous. I mean, Trump is just
Bro.
on a tear. They're like, they don't want to leave the
Nah,
house.
dude, they're getting
They don't want to be
scooped up,
deported.
man.
And I'm like,
Shaking in the
they are
boots.
scared. They're like, and the worst part is they want them. They go, hey, who do you want to win the presidency? Trump, Trump. And then you get in like, well, I don't know if I want to leave the house. What do you mean you don't want to leave the
Well,
house? Oh,
Trump is
he's gonna
good for
take us.
them in every other way.
Well, I
Well,
mean, that's a big way. I
economically, he's
mean,
good for him because,
that's
like,
a real
the
big way.
biggest threat to an immigrant is another immigrant because they're
How
fighting
so?
for the same jobs. You know,
I gotcha.
that's direct
I gotcha.
competition right there.
I, I, I've been utilizing their
Well,
services
everybody
lately. They're
has for
pretty good.
decades, but it just
A lot.
it got too many. Fuck. You getting invaded, you gotta do something, man. Getting
Getting
invaded, man.
invaded. Do you know they all, well, not all of them, I shouldn't say that, but some of
A
them have a
5-year plan? What's
5-year
the
plan.
5-year plan?
5-year plan is to make as much money possible in 5 years, and then they'll go back to Mexico or
Yeah,
Guatemala or
yeah.
wherever they're from, and
Yeah,
then
they
just
make
live
good
like
money,
kings,
right? And then they can send it back home. It's 2 or 3 times what it's worth here.
maybe more.
Yeah, well, hey, who knows? I don't know exactly, but
They're all here to stay, like they wanted to stay. He's like, no, 5-year plan. I'm in a 5-year plan. I'm not gonna name names, but I know a young man that's on a 5-year, not it's on a 5-year plan, and he says, I'm gonna be here for this, and his family's got roots here. The
oh,
kids go to school, and his dad owns a store. Dad owns a store, and the store's making a
5-year
million
plan?
dollars a year. I don't know, man.
Sounds like a terrible plan if
I
it's
don't know.
going well.
I thought so exactly. I thought so exactly. I don't know
That
what
is
they're
not a
gonna
well
do.
thought out plan, is what it sounds like.
Killing it. I'd like them to get citizenship.
Easier said than done. It's a long line.
Well, I'm sure it's easier months ago than it was. And for context, this is January. This is February 3rd, 2025. And 2 months ago, it was a different regime in
True.
the presidency.
Well, you got to adapt. You got to adapt your plans.
You got to adapt your plans. You do.
So, I got some stuff for you, guy. Dude,
You
like the
scare me,
world is
kid.
on fire right now. And I assume if you're a busy person, not
I
like
don't
me, who just
disagree with
looks at
that.
this shit all the time because it's fucking crazy. You actually have like a life and shit to do.
I have a life and shit to do.
uh, I'd say that as I was just had to come home from work and start work, but whatever. So, my boy said Politico. You know Politico? Oh man, what the hell is Politico exactly? I should identify what they are then, because I know they're like a political group, but I don't know what their what their lane is. I don't know exactly what they do. So let's see. Politico, Foreign Affairs, Israeli Ambassador
Politico.
to the United Nations says Palestinian. Oh, no. So it's like a newsletter, right? They do stories and this and
Yeah.
that.
How legitimate are they? Because right
Well, it was
nowadays,
like
everybody's
one
got
of
a
those
freaking
media
voice, and
places
their
that
voice
have
is
their
crazy.
spin, right? It's essentially what's going on. But I was following my dude over there on X, right? He said, didn't have Politico being a CIA funded operation on my board. It's going to be a wild 2025, guys. So Politico, let's see. This is the biggest news scandal in news media history. No employee No employee at Politico got paid yesterday. First time ever the company missed a pay period. This is a crisis. Now we learn Politico, a news company, which spent the last 10 years trying to destroy the MAGA movement, was being massively funded by USAID. Trump and Elon deleted their funding. Now Politico will go out of business. The corruption is endless. Good riddance. And I guess they got 8.2 million awarded to them. But no, it's already established. It's already a thing. It's you know what it really is you have all these lefties calling it out because they're trying to backpedal and they're trying to basically not be accountable and basically
So
trying
where
to
were we?
find legitimate reasons to keep the Doge around, I guess, is the deal.
No, it's not the Doge. It's the branch of the government that they've all the bullshit that all the bullshit that they've
Are you talking about
pulled
USAID?
over
I think.
the U.S. taxpayer.
I think you're talking about USAID then.
No, Doge. They're sitting there trying to justify their existence, and he's just writing them up. You're talking about the Political that happened just now. That's could be considered a
Well, it
legit
was
news
until
organization.
recently.
There's stuff that's
Like the other day, because they
well, if
pulled.
you can't
I
stand
think Trump said that the USAID is where this all comes from, though. It's a international aid organization that the government runs, which apparently is just a front for the CIA. Who knew? That's why he said what he said about
really.
the Politico being a CIA asset or whatever. Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
CIA funded
Yeah, but the stuff that
operation.
Doge is, yeah, the stuff that Doge is killing right now is amazing. There's $1.5 million to show clowns how to
Well, you
make
got the
balloons.
transgender surgeries that are so important, you know. Did I actually just saw something a few minutes
Yeah,
ago?
let's not get into
Trump
that.
put something into law, like on the books now, where men can't compete in women's sports. It's illegal now, or whatever. Yeah,
Really.
isn't
It's
it
about
though?
time.
Isn't it though?
It's about time. It's about time. When an average man can just dominate in the female sports, it just blows my mind that they allow that. I'm looking
Well, he's
around
stuck
like,
in the
what in the
upside
hell's
down
going on
world, you
here?
know? It's a fucking clown show going on.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. If you were to say this stuff in the 80s, they would have laughed at you. They would have
Well, look at the whole scene with the
laughed at
UFO
you.
scene has changed so much. They would have laughed at
How
you.
so?
And they did laugh at you. And look at them now. They're
They
kind of
did.
taking it. I don't know about how
They
serious they're
did.
taking it.
Well, there's cameras now. Everybody's got a phone. You're seeing more. You know what I mean?
I think people are just more open minded to it
There's
because
just
you
more
hear
out
enough
there.
of the stories. You'll be like, all right, maybe something to it. But when it was back in the day, it was just like a one off story here and there. Like, yeah, you smoking crack, but you drinking something in
There's
your
no
water.
video
What the hell
evidence back
happened
in
to
the
you,
day.
man?
No video evidence. All stories. You know, they didn't. Nobody had phones, and
Anecdotes.
there's so much video.
Yeah.
Everything's videotaped now. Yeah, yeah. But you had the evidence. Once you had the evidence, you had to talk about it. Once you had to talk about it, it becomes normal. That's where the key comes in. Same thing happened with transgender, women's sports. Everybody started talking about it. You keep talking about it, you keep talking, the public keeps talking about it, keeps
Well, I
talking, it
guess
becomes
that's the
normalized.
opposite end of the old thing, right? Where they say you tell a lie for long enough and loud enough, people start to believe it. Like if there's some truth in it, it'll kind of
Exactly.
happen the
That's
same way too.
proof
Like even
positive.
if you tell something with a kernel of truth in it, if you tell it for long enough, that people start to believe it a little bit.
Exactly. That's
Looking
100%
at
true.
what else? I think this is the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. I guess there's a certain funnel that's feeding to them, but the process of feeding to them is over $6 billion coming
Dude,
from the
the
USAID.
amounts
All
are
this
what's
stuff is
blowing my
coming
mind.
apparently from the USAID.
USAID. What
It's,
is
like I said, it's an
USAID?
international. Here, I'll find out the exact term for it, so I don't butcher it up.
So butcher it up.
United States Agency for International Development. Apparently, it's just a front for the CIA, like a slush fund they can put all kinds of money into and just fuck with things and make shit happen, you know?
Is that where they start their
I've
psyops
heard all
from?
kinds of crazy stuff lately. Oh, kinds of crazy stuff lately.
That they're slush fund where they start the psyop, make the American people believe whatever they want the American people to believe.
Yeah, control the narrative kind of thing. Well, that's kind of what they're doing with Politico. It's at 8 million. And as soon as they shut the doors, because they stopped, what they did was I think they shut the doors to the staff for USAID. And then like days later or whatever, Politico can't pay their people. And it's like, oh, what's going on here?
Here's my surprise tape. Oh my gosh, we shut down this nasty part of the government, and all of a sudden they dropped out of this world. I wonder who's
That's
funding
it.
them. That's you, dude. You're not going to make me feel jump for joy. Elon Musk said today our national debt, the interest on national debt supersedes our military spending, and we
That's
have the
saying
highest
something.
military
Yeah.
spending in the world. That's saying something I don't want to fucking hear.
So
This
I
is
got one
ridiculous.
post from him, was it 9 hours ago, from Elon. So yeah, this is where the big money fraud is happening. Some guy talking about the mother lode is now being tapped for the first, but not the last time. This is where the real big savings are. He's talking about a article. It's talking about Doge aids, search, Medicare agency payment systems for fraud. That's gonna be a mother
Ooh.
load, and everybody knows it is because there's so much waste in the like healthcare, especially government-run healthcare stuff. That's gonna be huge.
Oh,
And, even before all this stuff, I seen that he had uncovered like 2 trillion already.
not even trying. Just having all the government institutions validate their existence. That's all he did. Come tell me why you
Dude,
should be alive.
they
Not alive. Why you should be in business.
yeah, they
Come verify why you should be alive. Just verify your existence. Why? How are you helping out the American people? And then the people that are folding balloons and the spoons. There's a spoon. Silver Spoon
I
Foundation.
see they famous condoms for
$700,000 a
Palestine
year.
thing, right? Did you see that? The
I
guy was
didn't
like,
see
it's an
that, but that's
actual line
hilarious.
item.
It's an actual line item. Can you believe that? Oh, dude, the stuff I've been seeing is insane. I can't get it. I knew politicians were corrupt. I had no idea the level of corruptness and the level of stupidity that they're putting on us. Every time there's
I'm
a
not surprised at all,
bill
man.
passed,
It's just,
but the level of
dude.
stupidity
There's
doesn't
one
surprise you.
earlier. If I find it, I'm gonna scroll through my feed a little bit. I'm see if I can find some of this stuff. But there's one earlier talking about Pelosi and Schumer are both on the dole for big money for the same company or same program or
Really?
something. I said Pelosi and Schumer, didn't
Yeah,
I?
they're
I
shaking.
meant to say I want to say Pelosi and McConnell. I think it was. I could be wrong. I'll keep searching to see if I can find this stuff.
Dude, it's blowing my mind what's going on.
So you got what else we got?
The
U.S.
level of
government funding
stupidity.
for radical left causes have corrupted religious institutions domestically and throughout the world. That was Elon responding to a guy talking about USAID. I do not think American Christians realize how perverse our international influence has become. The pastor of the largest church in Chile spoke at Lake Point in Espanol last year. He explained that despite having a deeply traditional view of gender and family, they had begun aggressively teaching LGBT ideology in Chilean public schools to the horror of the Chilean parents. Why? Because Chile feared losing USAID if they didn't. I didn't understand what he meant until this week.
The countries are afraid not to
They're
promote that
swaying things,
ideology.
man. Just by like the threat of not giving the money that they want. USAID has released policies like the LGBTQI plus inclusive development policy, which provides a framework for integrating LGBT considerations into development work, including education. This policy encourages USAID staff to support programs that promote the rights and inclusion of LGBT individuals. For instance, USAID involves embedding these considerations into broader educational strategies as seen in the document. Integrating LGBTQI plus considerations into education programming. That's crazy, man. Crazy,
It
man.
is crazy. I don't understand I don't understand the promotion of the ideology. Why promote it? What's the benefit? What's the
You
benefit?
get paid,
How do you benefit from
apparently.
that?
Just this is one Chili story. You get paid. It's like probably like if there is a pot of money, if they can, because you know how special interests have always kind of been, not always, but definitely in the past like 25 years, all these special interest groups have been getting like I don't know about grants, but like little payouts, you know, kind of like the homeless thing now.
Grants,
You got a homeless
payouts.
problem now. Now nobody wants to address the homeless problem because people are making money off the homeless problem. There's
How are
some
they
people that
making
are
money
making
on the
six
homeless problem?
figures to deal with the homeless problem. And once you do that, you're not going to make that homeless problem go away. That's why it's a forever growing thing if you haven't been paying attention to it. It's crazy, man.
Did you this one guy? Man, I wish I would remember his name. I think it was a TikTok, and this guy asked how much would it cost ChatGPT to end homelessness in the United States per year. Then ChatGPT gave out a number, and then he said something to the effect of, "How much would it save the American taxpayers if we did this?" And it was double what the ending the homeless was. Just to end the homelessness. End homelessness. There's a number to it.
You
I would
can't
love to take
you
that
can't
on.
end
So,
homelessness.
builder,
That's dumb.
what? You just give them, please.
Give.
How many homeless
You see
people
how you
are
said
there?
give? That's
Give
where
a
I
place
draw
for
the
them to
line,
stay.
honestly. Once you want to give people things, it is
No.
guaranteed that when you give people things, they will not appreciate it as much as if they earn it. It is a guarantee.
Exactly. 100%. The one thing I learned, I helped start two nonprofits, two companies that just help out with no quandary of making money. Life Remodeled and FaithWorks. And really good, they call it 506Bs or something like that. Not 506Bs, but the IRS delineation that makes them
Right.
a
Tax
charitable
free because you're
donation company.
nonprofit or whatever.
So they don't pay taxes. Tax free. There's a number 508 or something. I forget
501c
what that
maybe.
was. Something like that. During the process, I learned one very valuable lesson.
Mm.
If you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach him to fish,
Exactly.
he'll eat forever. And one of the organizations was called Life Remodeled. We built a house in 6 days. I was the lead builder on it. That was a freaking train. That was a tough week of my life. Oh, that was a tough week of my life. Plan organized 450 volunteers to build a house in 6 days. This crazy pastor comes up to me and said, "God wants me to build a house in 6 days." And I looked at him. I go, "What do you do for a living?" He goes, "I'm a pastor." "What did you do before you were a pastor?" He
Yeah.
goes, "A bartender." I go, "You want to build a house in 6 days?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Is God with you?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "We're gonna need him." And then we got together and put this plan together and did it, and it was crazy cool. That was the first time. That was the second time I helped start a nonprofit. But I know for a fact if
You
you
can't
if
give
you
people things.
if you give a man a fish,
Can't.
well, if they're down and out, you
They
can
won't
give them a place
appreciate
to
it.
stay, but have a process, a systems and process in place that they get out. Does
End
that make
date.
sense? If you're able-bodied, there's people that aren't able-bodied to do it, mentally or physically. There's people that aren't able to do it. Now, if they're able to get out of it, say you stay in this place, but you got
No,
to
they
work,
gotta
you got to
contribute.
do
I don't
this,
care who it
they
is.
give
They
you a
gotta
job,
contribute in some way.
a job,
I don't care what it is.
a
You
job.
can't give people something. They need to have to earn it. I don't care if they're not able bodied, they can answer
There's a
phones.
human.
They can do something, man.
Nah, there's people that
Yeah,
can't
and they
work.
put those
There's
people in a
people that can't.
home. Like a
Well, they're homeless right now, is what I'm trying to illustrate.
man.
Now, what about mental illness? They can't
They
work.
have psych
They
wards for
can't have
those
a
people.
conversation. They don't. That's why there's so many homeless people. About 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they started shutting those down.
I mean, I
And those
don't
people are
know,
on the
man.
streets. Think about it.
I
No, check that
mean,
one out. That's something that you're
what
brought to
is
the table.
a person who can't mentally function in life contributing to society? So they're just a drag
Nothing.
on
But
society
should they
then.
be homeless?
100% drag.
Correct. But
Zero
should they be homeless?
contribution.
Should they be homeless?
I mean, they're gonna die soon anyway. They are.
Let's not go that route. But should they be homeless? Should they be homeless because they don't have the mental capability to
Their
maintain a job
family
and
should figure out what to do
have
with them. That should be a
legit college?
family issue.
I'll never forget. We did a mission trip, and we went and fed the homeless at this park in Salt Lake City, Utah. And one of the pastors out there that was, organizing, we were just, the hands and feet. He said, these are mostly people that don't have a support group. These are just mostly people
through
that
the
fell
cracks.
and don't have the support.
Yeah, but
There's just
you can't
nobody
have
support
forever
them.
dependence
Yeah,
either.
there's people out there that don't have family. What if somebody comes from another country and doesn't have any support? Doesn't know
Why is that
anybody out
everybody
here?
else's problem?
I'm just saying, what happens to them? What should we do? Oh, if they're illegal, send them
Well,
out.
yeah, they're getting dealt with anyway right now.
They're getting taken care of. Hop on the bus. Can you
No,
believe that?
Guantanamo
Think
Bay's
about
open.
this
They're taking them now.
Yeah, my daughter's losing her mind on that. Could you imagine a Mexican coming to America and going to New York
Dude,
and
they were
getting
paying
money
them.
in a
They were
hotel
paying
room?
them decent. And they were paying them, they were giving them food money. They gave them cell phones probably. They gave them housing. Dude, you see them, they're wearing all like Nike jackets and stuff, dude. It's really weird. Really weird.
And then a new regime comes in and it's like, bam, bam, you're not getting nothing and we're hunting you. I mean, this is like the Hunger Games shit. Think about that. I'm here in America. I'm making money. I'm trying to get a job.
This is just the beginning.
Well, first thing they did was shut off the money. Now, like, hey, where's my check? Where's my $3,800 a month? Then, like, oh man, wait, my place isn't being paid for. I'm going to get kicked out. I'm going to get evicted. Oh my gosh, I got to work. This America is not the land of milk and honey anymore.
Look at the entitlement programs. They live that same life. Like, this is when the people in Chicago started getting pissed off because the immigrants were moving in there and they were giving their entitlement money to the immigrants and not them no more. And I thought it was so ironic because they'd be like, oh, you see now. You see how we were always complaining about you just sucking on the teat. And now you're pissed that you don't get the money and somebody else is sucking on the teat. It's so hypocritical. They didn't get theirs. That's all they care about.
Yeah, but it blows my mind how much money the government makes. And Elon Musk said this. Man, this guy hurts me every time he talks. He goes, all income from the U.S. government is taxable.
Yeah, well, it's not even taxed just one way. There's a lot of times it's taxed 4 or 5 different ways, going in and out the door.
Well, going in there, so you your truck, you pay tax on when you bought it. The guy that sold it to you, did he pay tax on it when he bought it? The guy before that, did he pay tax on it when you sell it? They're gonna pay taxes on it? That's one item tax.
Ted Cruz was telling, I think it was Elon the other day, was talking about abolish the IRS. I was like, oh, shit, here we go, dude. Here we go.
That would be awesome. Now, here's something that really blows my mind. I've heard this stuff for 60 years. Just politicians say, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this.
Yeah,
none of them did any of it. Left or right. This one coming out of the gate.
Well, I said that to somebody recently. I was like, one thing that's kind of surprised me in this run is how much energy it still has. Because a lot of times when people get elected, they'll get elected and they'll go away for a while. You won't really hear from them. Maybe like the first couple of days you hear from them. And then they're going in, they're getting organized or whatever they're doing, right? But it gets quiet for a while. But it hasn't been that way so far. I think that's probably the most surprising part is how much energy is still behind the mission. Because when you do stuff like this, you're going to reach flack and you're going to get pushed back. But dude, they're just driving this motherfucker hard.
They said, I thought was the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. Said the left is reeling. They're reeling so much that they can't focus on what to reel at. Like day one comes out, we're all offended about this. The day two says, we're offended about this.
The news cycle you thought the news cycle moved fast before. They can't even keep up with all of the things to complain about.
Yeah, they're like, I can't. What about this? Like, they forgot about yesterday. There's a new thing to be offended about. What about
Yeah,
DEI? You're taking away DEI. You're taking away people's human rights. Well, what about
yeah.
this? Or you're taking away their lifestyle. No, you're taking away
I
this.
told you they just
They
passed
just
a
can't.
thing
They
where
can't
women
focus
can't
on
compete
one.
in
It's
men's sports, so now they got that on the docket too. You can't even sit on that for a week no more
God.
because
That's
tomorrow it's gonna be something else.
right. You can't even sit on it for a week. That's a
There you
bold.
go,
It's a
right?
bold
You
idea,
gotta
my friend.
think he's only
That
been
is a bold
president for what, like
idea.
3 weeks, something like that. It seemed, and all the stuff that's happened
Yeah.
so far, people are really shitting on his reporting numbers.
And it's not slowing down. It's not slowing down. Show me the slowdown from one to the other to the
It's not all
next. You
good
can't. If
though.
you were to sit there and just list out
Not all
every day
good
what's
though.
going on.
I was highly upset at some shit yesterday, boy.
Uh-oh.
He said that basically he wants the U.S.
What
to go
happened?
into Gaza and clear it out, and I think we're going to be building it back up. That's what it sounds like. That's a terror. Why
Well,
are we even getting
the,
involved,
here's
dude? He's been Netanyahu to the fucking teeth, man. It's just
so what that is here.
nothing.
What would
I
end?
was just watching some of your man. Watch this shit. Find this shit I was just talking about. My God, man.
What would
The
end
bonds of
Gaza?
friendship.
I am no expert.
Okay, the
I'm no
bonds of
expert.
friendship and affection between the American and Israeli people have endured for generations, and they are absolutely unbreakable. There's a quote from Trump. And then I said, why would any relationship with another country be unbreakable? If they just started massacring men, women, and oh wait, why would he say that about any country, let alone that fucking mess over there, man?
I think it's Christian Judeo philosophy that's Israel. That's the home of the motherland.
And
And the Palestinians think the same thing. That's the home of the motherland. That's what they've been
did
fighting
you
for
know that?
thousands of years. Thousands of
Did you
years.
know that
You know what
Epstein was
says
a Mossad operation? Mossad
was a
operation, and
what?
Mossad is Israel intelligence, essentially. Israel Epstein was an Israel intelligence operative, essentially.
Well, that's one way to publicly see. Usually they take that stuff out
No, you can't do that no
privately,
more. We're not in that age no more. We're
privatize
in
it.
the exposing everybody phase right now.
Mm, look at all the people that had alternative energy. There's a little news article I saw that this guy was having a car that ran on water.
Yeah.
He died. His last words were, "I was poisoned." In the I remember
Was
when
it
that happened.
hydrogen? Is that
That
what
was
they were
back in like
selling
the
as? Like a
80s or something like
hydrogen
that.
car with the water thing?
He's saying water,
Right,
but
right. I
water
think
is
that was
mostly
the
hydrogen, right? And then there's another two guys that had nuclear capabilities on a minor scale to be able to run your home house. They're dead. Guy fell out of a window. This guy died from this. This guy died from this. Right when he's getting ready to bring it public. Right when he's getting ready to bring it public. And the one guy was talking to investors about his idea. He died. Ah, dude, that's when you find the
what they guys
that's
say?
where you find it.
What they
You know,
guys
you
say
always
is a
trace the
big
money.
club and you ain't in it.
Epstein was
Yeah,
in it.
he
Look how
was
it
in
ended
it
for
until he
him.
wasn't.
He died. He died in prison
Well, you know, he
mysteriously,
suicided
supposedly
himself, apparently,
by
so.
yeah. And they take away all your ability to suicide yourself when you go into prison, like your shoelaces and stuff. But he did it. That's weird, you know. And those cameras just happened to be
Well,
broken in his
and
cell at
the
that
police
time. Isn't
officer
that
that was his
crazy?
bunkmate or whatever saved him the first time, right? Oh,
No, I didn't
oh
hear
yeah,
about
that's
that
the
at
add to
all.
the story. So they tried something once. I don't know exactly. Ether. Yeah,
Who's
right,
they? I
right,
mean, who's
right.
the
Well, the way it looks, it's either
who's they?
Mossad or I was thinking like Clinton shit at the time, honestly.
Yep,
But
yep, yep,
he was
yep,
in a
yep, yep.
cell and something happened where his cellmate was out and he came back and he found him hanging by his fucking neck and got him up, got him out and saved his life. And then they ended up switching that guy out to a different area and then they got him again and then they got him that time. And then,
I
yep.
didn't know it happened once. That's crazy. Yeah, dude. Yeah, this is a crazy
Crazy
country.
time to be
This is
alive
a
for
crazy
sure.
country. I'd say that it's crazy with AI and the ability to make claims at will and go through the social media. It is crazy. We didn't have that
No,
ability in the 80s, dude.
everybody
We
was
didn't have that
separate.
ability at all. Social media was
Media
controlled.
still is
Media was
kind of
controlled.
controlled. It's only recently we're breaking off from the mainstream stuff. You see, I don't know if you see it because I don't know how much you're on X or whatever, but Elon's right. He's like, we are the media now. And you know what? It's kind of strange. I think that we've come so far away from it. But if journalism isn't grassroots, it's not real. It's not real. It's
Could
not
there be
real because
truth?
somebody's going to buy them out and they're
Could
going to
there be
corrupt it. And it's some bullshit when you get
when?
CNN.
When you get big
Yeah,
enough.
once it's no longer
The answer is when
grassroots.
you get big
Once
enough.
it's no
When you
longer
get big enough.
grassroots, then it becomes polluted. Once it's not street level.
There's some there's some guys out there, some podcasters that stuck to their grassroots, make good money. I'm not saying Mr. Beast, but there's some other guys out there that have really stuck to the
Like
truth.
who?
God, my daughter introduced me to one, Pudding Bear or something like that. I forgot his name. I don't want to be promoting people I don't know what they are, but there are some podcasters that have been doing this for years. And did you hear how the press secretary invited them to be in the press
Invited
room?
who?
If you're a podcaster, you're somebody that's talking truth for years and you want to come into this room, let me know. And she said
Wow.
1,000 applicants,
Independent. It's all
podcasters
independent
to be
stuff.
on.
It's the only way to keep this shit legit is you gotta have independent people. You can't have corporations. It just gets fucked up.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, well, is CNN fucked? Is
Is
CNN
that a question or a statement? That's a statement.
statement? Is Fox
Probably a
corrupt?
little. Yeah. I don't know about all the way, but yeah.
They're biased. I've never seen. So here's a concept for you. Here's a concept for you. All news is supposed to be biased. They just report the news, not their
It
opinion
can't
of
be
the
biased if
news.
it's just the news. How?
It
If
can
you're
be.
just
I've
delivering the
seen it
facts, how
that
could it be
yeah,
biased? That's
because
not
it's facts. You're
bias.
just delivering
That's
facts.
information. That's technically accurate information. That's not
Right.
bias.
Right.
Unbiased is right.
Unbiased. You're delivering unbiased information.
Okay.
The biased part about it. So unbiased. Back in the 70s and 80s, I remember listening to news and they just tell this happened in
Mm-hmm.
downtown Detroit. Didn't say, the culprit was this or this or that. That's all they said. Facts. Almost like that old, what was that show? God, this is before both of us put together. It was a detective and he goes, just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. And that's all the news would kick out. Just the facts. And then something happened around the 90s, man. They started getting
I think it was
opinions into it.
older.
And as soon as you put an opinion in it, it just screws it up to the point now where we're just so
I think it's older
divided,
than that.
people left and right. So divided. So I remember listening to the news because there's only two channels and there are three channels in Detroit,
So
East,
I've
4, and
heard this
South.
talked about
And
before.
they were just, all the
I've
news
heard
was
this
just
talked about
unbiased.
from before. So, Walter Cronkite. A lot of people
Yeah.
blame him.
60
Well,
Minutes?
more than that. So I guess a
Wasn't he on
big part
60
of what
Minutes?
he did way back when was he was reporting on like the Vietnam War and stuff. And what he ended up started doing was he would give you the deal and then he would give you what he thought about the deal. And I think a lot of people agreed with him at the time. So even if you agree with the guy, once he starts giving his take on it at the end, then people that come behind him feel like they have to give their opinion on it too. And it seems like that's when this thing kind of started getting slippery. And that's a shame because I see a lot of people and they really love Walter Cronkite, but it's like even if he was right to with his opinion of the thing, once you start making it normal for you to put your take on it, because that used to be saved differently, right? That used to be the editorial. They would have the news like in the paper, and then they would have the editorial, which is how they viewed whatever was going on. They kept those things very separate, though. And when you have somebody like him who kind of started mixing them, it's like, yeah, it's a slippery shit, man. So it's
Agreed.
way older.
Agreed. But I think they phrased it. Here's the biggest problem I've noticed. Agreed. But here's the caveat to it. Back in the day, they told you it was an editorial. Those are my words, not yours. This is my opinion, not yours. They would always say that. Nowadays, they're trying to pawn off facts or opinions as facts.
Slippery slope.
Well, this is what happened, and this is how I believe it's true.
It's a
but
slippery
that's
slope.
the fact. No, that's not the facts. Your opinion. No. When you separate your editorial from the actual news, that's the way it should be. But these people are just throwing opinions and the bias. When you get, you're a slave to your bias.
You don't have to be. You don't have to be, people.
You don't have to be, but you are. I don't think
initially, but then you kind of like, you got to question your bias after that.
I think a lot of people fall in. It's the only saving grace I could hear from the left. That's the only thing I would like. I know people on the left, and if they actually think it's okay to mutilate children before they're 18 years old, they can make a conscious decision. If I could make a decision on my autonomy for my body at 12 years old, I was a legit moron.
Yeah.
I was a legit moron at 12 years old. I mean, but people are sitting there talking about once I've heard silly rumors in California where they say if someone says that they're of the other sex, that the parents can't do anything about it. They tell the school, and the school starts to gender.
Yeah, the California thing was they didn't even have to come tell the parents. After a while, if the kid told the school would just kind of take it and run, which is insane.
Do you think Jordan Peterson said it best? When has the left gone too far? Has the left gone too far? What made the shift with this election?
What made the shift?
You got to understand. So, yeah, it's been like, I'd say 15 years since Republicans have won when it's not the popular vote. Right? I can't remember the last time because the last 2 or 3 or 4 were not the popular vote. They were the
electorate.
They were the electoral college, right? Which I don't know if I agree with. But what made the shift to be a 2 million shift?
Well, the only
from left to right. The left has a great
utopia.
System.
It's hard to beat utopia.
Here's the problem. Yeah.
Especially when it's free.
Free healthcare. Free healthcare.
Yeah,
free housing. Free this. Free that. For everybody. Do you think we'll get there? Do you think we'll get to that?
Oh man, that's a tricky one. So first, let me say what I think kind of pushed it over the edge. But the only thing that's really new in all of the left shit, I mean, even the gender stuff was in game for a while, but they started going after the fucking kids, man. That's when women voters, they will finally break free from the fucking ideologically captured position that they're in. And that's when you kind of see that big shift. Whether they don't participate or they go to the right, it's kind of irrelevant because it kind of weakens the left position in that way.
Dude, my kids are 30. My kids are your age probably, and 32. If this was happening while my kids were going to school and I took wind of it, I would be kicked out of the school multiple times. Every parent-teacher conference, every time they have any kind of public speaking, I would be there just hammering them. Only because I don't care if, and I know some people that have transitioned.
I'm sorry.
And that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. They're full-grown adults. They're over 18 years old. But if you're coming after the kids, you're coming after my kid. Oh, you'll
start
never
fucking with people's kids, man.
See.
You're gonna fucking catch some shit.
How is it now?
Well, I was thinking about that a little bit.
What are you hearing? Stuff that started to push back, and that's what
I don't have to deal with that. The kids go to like some Catholic kind of thing, so they're fine. But like you see, I was thinking about it
Good.
too, because like you'll
Good.
see these, you'll hear these stories anyway, where they have books in schools about being gay, books in schools about transgender stuff.
They're
That's what I'm
reading
saying,
stories
dude.
about it. They're reading
I read
stories
a
about it. They're reading the story. You can have books. That's information. Have the book. I
That's
don't care. When you're
so
reading into it,
disheartening because
you're
it's like
promoting.
they didn't even know this was a thing until you fucking brought it to them.
Well, I think that's the shift. I think when you started messing with kids,
They
that's when
volatile,
parents were
man.
like, no, no, Disney, Disney. Look at Disney. Here's my evidence. Here's the evidence to my statement. When you start, Jordan Peterson said, "When's the left gone too far?" You know who blew my mind? He interviewed Bill Maher. Bill Maher said, "Where do I start?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" Bill Maher, a staunch liberal for thousands of years. Bill Maher said, "Where to start?" I'm like, "What do you mean where to start?" He just went on 5 or 6 rants. And one of them was like, for liberal, we just wanted not see color. We just want, we just wanted not see color. Just don't see color. Just you're a human being. You're an individual, right? Now there's black only dormitories.
Segregation's coming
Went
back.
the other way. Right. Racism's coming back. The opposite way. I think it's a little bit okay. I like that it went a little bit to show white people that, hey, listen, you're not that great. And then but I don't think racism is good in any way, shape, or form.
Well,
Could be wrong.
I even see minorities pushing for segregation. It's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, but it's, like, why
you
did
should probably make
I
the
always,
distinction here between the liberals and the far left because they are different. They are different.
they are
And I
different.
always tell people that
They
the
are different.
liberals are the people 30 years ago, like the right and the left used to have the same goal, but they would disagree how they were going to get that goal. And
How to
then,
get there.
and that's the liberal.
Very good
And
point.
the far left motherfuckers are just crazy. They're out there trying to do wild shit, man. They're trying to get riot supplies. They're trying to get pallets of bricks to people they can start riots with, But the far left sees everything through identity groups, They push all that shit, and it's divisive as fuck.
I love Charlie Kirk though. He goes out
Yeah,
on
he goes
the
out to
most
campuses and
liberal
people.
platform in the world. He goes to the
Well,
campus
Ben
of these
Shapiro used to do
colleges
that too.
and he just talks to them.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. And then he got so big that they're like, we
Well,
can't afford you
so
no more.
big that people were starting to
Turning
threaten
point.
his
What's the
life and
turning
stuff
point?
because that was in like the height of that was like when George Floyd was blowing up, and shortly before then, that's when college campuses were getting fucking crazy radicalized.
They've
No, they
always been
haven't
crazy radicalized.
always.
What's that
They used to
getting?
be free
Oh, dude.
places where you could express like ideas freely, though. Like it wasn't all just Marxist shit;
No,
it
no,
was
the
other
narrative
shit
is
too, though.
no, no. They trust me for years. It's just the same package. It's just the same flour. It's just a different brand. It's a flour, different brand. I'll never forget the 70s when there's protests, and then the far right went too far too.
Uh-huh.
They brought the military over there. They brought cops. They brought the military. They brought,
Local law enforcement,
what do they
probably,
call
or
that?
whatever.
What uh,
National Guard, maybe.
what was it called? What's the branch of the government that just kind of works
National
with
Guard, maybe.
civilization? National Guard, and they brought them out, and they put. I remember, I know this because in Detroit they would arm the soldiers when they went to break up the riots
Mm-hmm.
with rubber
They do
bullets,
rubber or pepper usually.
lower caliber rubber bullets. Yeah, well, now we got pepper.
Right.
Back then it was just rubber bullets, so it wouldn't kill anybody. And when they deployed them, I remember this one. It was a news thing, and this cop or this soldier had a gun aiming at an American citizen, and they were just protesting this hippie girl. This is back in the 70s. Pulled out a rose and stuck it or a flower and stuck it inside the barrel of the gun. So there were always protests. There was always uprising. There was always the free love movement, right? It's just
Well, I will
changed.
say here, do
Now
you
it went
know
too
who
far.
Yuri Bezmenov is?
God, you come up with these crazy people. All right,
Dude,
lay it
oh
on me,
my
bud.
God. This is even beyond what I can let you know right here because this guy A few years ago, he became repopularized again, and I'm so happy because a couple years before that, I found him, and I was like, "This is the end of the world." But he was basically,
This one
but
guy
he
is the
did
end of
it.
the
He was
world.
a KGB defector, and he came over here in like the
Really?
'80s, and he started teaching people how Russia was actively trying to subvert America, and there was a several step process to it. I think it was demoralization was a big part of it, and this and that. And tell me that that hasn't happened to the country. But he said, more importantly, that this has been going on forever. He's like, this has been going on since like the '50s. He painted it as, and he's like, he kind of credited it with the whole Vietnam movement too, the whole pushback against Vietnam. He's like, yeah, they've been over here. They've been subverting your students. They've been subverting your kids. They've been pushing shit in their face. They've been demoralizing everybody. They've been trying to make people hate America that live in America and all this.
Someone said the leader of the feminist movement was a CIA operative. There's one girl. If you just type it up on Google, you'll find it. The lead one of the greatest feminists was
Yeah,
a CIA operative. And that blew my mind. Why would the CIA
because
want to push
it's a
feminism?
wedge. It's a wedge issue. They would call it, right?
Well, if you were to
Well,
this is one thing I
if you
studied
were to
is
go in that
warfare.
lane, I would say that probably the biggest threat to any government power is strong men. And the
Oh
feminist
yeah.
movement
Oh,
has
absolutely.
changed over the years. I was talking to somebody about this recently, how the feminist movement, because I used to consider myself a feminist when I was in like middle school and stuff, and I would hear it and I was like, all right, cool, good, go do your whatever the fuck, who cares? But shit changed. Shit
Free the
changed.
nipples.
And feminism, especially in its current state, is different. Feminism used to be about equality. Women wanted to do shit that men did and this and that, but it's no longer the case. Today, feminism is about supremacy. They don't want to be
Yeah.
equals.
Dominate.
They want to be
Absolutely.
superiors. And that's not cool. Nobody fucking
And
likes that
the
shit.
radical
So
agenda
what?
doesn't make sense. The radical agenda doesn't make sense. All you gotta do is ask them a bunch of questions and you just see it
Oh, yes,
fall
the
apart
Charlie
in front
Kirk
of them.
thing. That's
It
exactly what
blows
Charlie
my
Kirk
mind.
does. He'll actually make them use their brain instead of reciting their talking points, right?
He uses the greatest questions. Like he goes, the Republicans are the worst financially for our government or for our society. I'm like, why? And he goes, oh, during this, they did this while they were in power and this. And he goes, well, what about this? And he goes, well, you can't say that because that was the previous government. And he goes, well, what about this? And he goes, well, you can't say it, you can't, they did good because they were in power. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't say that the problems were all from the previous regime
Well,
and all the
it's
good
people
is from
cherry
this. You
pick
got to
to
pick
kind
one.
of fit their bullshit. Well, they do.
Well,
They
you can't
try
do
to
that.
anyway.
You got to be
Yeah.
honest. You got to say that you got to take the good with the. If you're going to say like Trump obviously is in charge at
He's
this
got a
time.
real
He's doing
president.
some crazy stuff. Anything that happens is 100% his responsibility, right? The first thing he did was how many executive orders?
I
72
don't
executive.
know.
How many orders did he just wipe of a pen? He did too many, more than any president's ever done in his life, right? The first thing he did was that any policy after this is 100% his fault, good or bad, and everybody has to realize it. I'm sticking by that it's going to be good, and if it's not, I'm 100% wrong. I'm
Well,
100% wrong. You got to be
yeah,
open and
I mean,
honest
you need
about it.
to call if it's bad out, or if it's good out, but it's not on us at this point. I mean, we can only do so much. It's
That's
kind of on him, really. I mean, the buck has to stop with him.
no, I think he'll take it. You know what though? He is a
Don't
little
forget, he
bit,
was a lefty
dude.
until the past few years.
I like. Here's the think about this. Think about this. Have you heard Trump talk and say stupid stuff once in a while? You're fake news. You're this. He's just real.
Oh, yeah,
He's real
he's got that
arrogant and
straight New
real.
York in
I
him.
don't know how to put it. Right, but he's not
No, he's a
presidential. It's some.
freaking
You're
celebrity.
fake news. You're this. You're this, and he
He's a
says
New
stupid
York
stuff.
asshole
Does he say
celebrity
stupid?
turned politician.
Right. Does he say
Of
stupid
course,
stuff? And
right?
he's our president right now. How? bad did the other side have to screw up?
Well,
Think about that. How bad did the other side have to screw up to
yeah,
make him
but
president?
it needed
For
more than
him to
that
win.
because you could have had a Huckabee. You could have had a few other guys, right?
That's what I'm trying to say.
But
How
you
bad did he
needed
screw up? He's president.
somebody fucking crazy, basically, that could
Banging
withstand
Kate.
the abuse that he's endured for the past, even before he was
Got it.
even before
Attempted
he was
murder 2 or 3
president the
times.
first time. They had the Steele dossier going. They found out as a Clinton funded thing, right? They had all this stuff going on even before he was president the first time. They were trying to get him out even before he was president the first time.
An assassination attempt.
Twice,
They tried
right?
to get him out.
I know there's one
I
he
mean,
got shot,
it's
but
an, well, nobody talks about it. I really feel bad. One
yeah,
person died
yeah.
at
He
that
was like
rally.
a long time
They don't talk
firefighter or
about
something, wasn't he?
that's the one thing that breaks my heart. Well, it breaks my heart. And these crazy people that are up there shooting and stuff. That's homeless. Not homeless. He wasn't homeless, but that's what I'm saying. There's a lot
Well,
of
they
crazy
say that
people willing to do
he
desperate
was
people will
probably
do
an
crazy
asset
things.
for somebody, is the way it seems.
Nah, that's
Idiot.
they're saying. Who's they? And yeah, that's a youthful
Uh,
idiot is a powerful opponent.
Because he got
It really is.
manipulated into that position in the first
And
place, most likely.
do you think this is the crazy part that the Secret Service could have been coerced to the point
So,
that they knew somebody was going to come out, be on top of a roof, well with it. I'm a good shot. I'm a good shot. I could have made that not even trying. Not even trying. To be on top of this roof at a rally,
I
150, was
don't
it
know the
450 yards
distance.
away? A little over a football field? I mean, come
Me and my friend keep talking
on.
about this when it was happening, dude. We got into the weeds pretty deep on it, man. And kind of the takeaway that I came away with was we know certifiably that the people that are in the Secret Service are the fucking best. They are the best of the best where they came from. They are that person.
That's a good
They
point.
are so
That's a good
elite.
point.
They are tier one. They are all that. And how in the fuck does this happen? It has to be intentional, I would say, on some level. Like, whether they knew, I don't know what they knew, but like, you're not going to tell me that they so incompetent that they couldn't handle
Think
this.
about
I refuse to believe this. I know I've seen these guys that come through there. They are heavy hitters, like all of them.
I agree. I
It's
agree with you
so
100%.
crazy though.
Now, what stopped that
He was a
kid?
bad shot. They shot him
No, what
after,
stopped him?
right?
So a sniper in a position, what did he have to wait for? Take him
Hopefully
out.
nothing. I don't know.
The order to fire upon him.
Well, they said that the locals, they said that there was
Think about
local,
that.
I don't know if they're law enforcement or whatever, but they had said there's a weird kid running around with a fucking backpack or some shit. So, like, they had tips.
With a
They had
gun. I think they
tips.
said gun.
Did you ever see? Oh my God, I wish I could. I'm going to find it eventually. I'm not going to do it right now, but there is a clip out there that they started going over where the roof that the kid was on, there was like a 2-story building next to that rooftop area, and there was a room that they were in that has a huge opening window that they could open, and you could have probably not even had to have jumped to get to the roof from this window that kid was on. It is so close. You could have had it overlooking. Oh my God, dude. You could have been overlooking this kid the whole time.
The snipers
No, but it's
didn't
just
move
the
their
fact
position.
that it was such
They
a.
just shot. Why did they? All they had to do was shoot before he pulled the trigger. What had to happen? The order to fire. That's why the CIA director got fired, or the Secret Service director got fired. She was incompetent
Well,
at
she
that.
was, from what I remember, she was just looking for somebody to
I mean,
blame. Well, she
there's
finally
no.
ate the bullet because she had to, but I think all the shit at first was she was just looking for somebody to blame.
I agree. I agree. That's human nature, though. If anything goes way wrong, it's your fault. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Do the Gavin Newsom thing and blame somebody else.
A true
Well, you need
man.
a
This has
leader,
happened
is what you
very
need.
rarely. You do. Absolutely. That's 100 agreed. Agreed. You ever hear about Ronald Reagan doing
Doing
that,
what?
taking the
Right?
bullet?
Mm-hmm.
So here, this is one time, in when Somalia happened. General Coleman Powell said he did this in I did a leadership summit with him, and he did this
A leadership summit with who?
5 minute thing, and it's really
Colin?
General Coleman Powell, the
Colin? Oh, yeah.
Colin
All right.
Powell.
I think you say Coleman. Messed me up. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
he
who you're
was.
talking
You
about,
know who
though.
he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
forward
yeah,
star
yeah,
general
yeah.
during the Gulf War. So he gave my brother the Silver Star. My brother got the Silver Star. He was in Fort Carson, Colorado, and Powell was the actual running it. And I got a picture of my brother getting the Silver Star from him. He was doing a leadership summit, and he was in a leadership summit. Yeah, I went and listened to him. It was brilliant. He goes, here's true leadership. He goes, one time I was telling the president that we got to go do this. We got to go do Somalia. We got to go do Somalia. And then he goes, no. The president's like, no, 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 no. And then the president goes, hey, I need you to do this. He goes, okay, I'll do it. He's following orders. And then one time he asked him to do something that was tough. And he goes, I need you to do this. And then Colin Powell said, if I do this, I get to go on Somalia and extract the leader of Somalia. And the president reluctantly goes, yeah, okay, fine. So General Colin Powell took care of whatever the president had to do. Then he went in and got the president of Somalia, and it freaking blew up. Black Hawk down, the people were dying, and it was just a train wreck. Then the vultures come out, the press, the wolves. They come out in force. What happened? Who did this? Why did this go wrong? Who was in charge? Blah, blah, blah. And they were just, I remember this. They were just, what is this? Whose fault is this? Whose fault is it? And he said that I was sitting right in front of him. All he had to do was lift up his right hand and point. Well, this is the guy that asked me to do it. You know what he said? It all falls on me.
It's good. It's still...
It's 100% my fault. I'm the commander in chief of the U.S. government. He goes, I enacted and I okayed everything to this point.
Well, he
So
understood
I'm
that the buck stops with him then.
show me since that day it ever happened
Oh,
again.
man. Well, I mean, on that level? On that scale, you mean? Because it happens all the time, I'm sure, isn't there?
Well, when people get put into a corner, you're going to have to. But this guy willing
You have to.
threw himself on the
That's
sword.
the whole Jocko
And
thing,
that hard.
That's the whole extreme ownership. That's what that is.
Why is Jocko so
He's a
popular?
badass.
Because he's doing stuff that nobody else does. He's a badass. Did I tell you I almost
you told me.
I got to roll with him?
Yeah. You can share it again, though, if you want. That was a cool story.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I'm in real estate. My son's book up there, The Money Glitch. We had a seminar on flipping houses, and it was in California. It just happened to be in California. The guy that owns Seven Figure Flipping was a Marine, and he says, I flew Jocko back in the day to where he had to go. And he paid a lot of money to have Jocko come speak. I got to meet him, shake his hand and stuff. And then everybody knew I'm a martial artist. I'm a fifth degree black belt, and I've done pretty well at the U.S. Open. I got 11 first place trophies in the U.S. Open, so I'm pretty competitive in martial arts. I got to sit at his head table. And then, there's 250 people there, and we're all professionals. I got to sit at his table, and I'm talking to him, and I go, man, I'd love to roll with you. And I would be eaten up alive in a minute. But, so if my objective to rolling with Jocko was at the end of
just
2
survive.
minutes, he didn't.
Yeah.
Just
That's
survive. That would be a goal.
A major one.
That'd be a major accomplishment. That would be my only way of saving. There's I stand 0 chance with a black belt that
Well,
level
he's a
of
vanilla
surviving
gorilla
for more
too.
than
He's just
he is, and you got to understand. I'm a martial artist. I can take most people in this world. This man could take just about everybody that's not trained at his level. I mean, just about it. He's just a different animal. He's killed people. He's killed people. There's a big difference between mixed martial
well.
arts champions
This is what
and
me and my friend
people
talk
like him.
about. It's there's a big difference between fighting and
Oh, wait,
violence, real
let me
violence. You
finish
know.
it. Let me finish this story. I forgot the best part of the entire situation. This is fun. This is going to play well. So we're talking. I said, I'd love to roll with you one day. And he goes, anytime, anywhere. I'm like, well, this is a cement floor, so I'm going to say no. And I had the U.S. Open coming up in three. I had the U.S. Open coming up in 3 weeks, and I wanted to do well, so I didn't want to be injured. I'm pretty sure this
Yeah,
guy was going to freaking injure me. So I go, hey, listen, can I come out and see you? He goes, I go, where's your place at? He
got
told me,
victory
and
down
then
there.
this is like a Wednesday, and I go, when are you going to do it? He goes, I'll be there Thursday, which is the next day. I said, I'll come out. He goes like this. And he goes, Mr. Willings, the person comes, Mr. Willings, you got to come out and speak now. He goes, I love choke people. Yeah. And then he just gets up and walks away. Everyone at the table is all real estate professionals. They don't understand this. The girls at the table were like,
Like, he's a
they're
monster.
looking at me. I'm like, I get it. I understand. I understand what you're trying to say, but what he was trying to tell me was that he loves choking people. And he's giving me advice. He's telling me, hey, dude, I will try and choke you the fuck out. So I got to watch for the chokes. And they go, I go, don't worry. As soon as I tap, he'd let go. He's not going to kill me. The people were just so blown out of the water from
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
Terrified.
Well, like I said, me and my
Terrified
friend talk about this a
of
lot.
getting
Like, there's
choked
a
out.
big difference between fighting and like real violence. There's a big difference. Big
You
difference.
agreed?
The
What is the
difference
difference?
is fighting. We're trying to damage each other, but you're not trying to kill the other person typically.
That's it.
Violence
That's
is
it. The willingness.
one of us is probably not walking away alive.
So the difference between what you said,
Fighting and
what was your two
violence.
analogies? Fighting and violence is a
Well, that's what
willingness to
something
kill
he thinks
somebody.
is a lot, right?
Not
Well, to
everybody's
enter into
willing to
these
kill somebody.
situations, just kind of like you don't have to enter into combat. You have to have two wills, right? The will to kill and the will to be killed, because both of them are possibilities.
That's a good point. The willingness to be. Nobody
No,
thinks
everybody
about the
thinks they're
willingness to
coming
be
out
killed.
on top
But
until
if
they're
you're
leaking
stepping in,
out and they're gasping for air.
that's the plan. Everybody's got a plan. So it's like Mike Tyson says, everybody's
That's
got a
a
plan to get
fucking
punched in the
fact
face.
right there, dude.
Right. But you gotta. I've never been in. I've been in probably hundreds of fights with other black belts and people, and it's the super coolest thing in the world. I'll show you a video one day of I put a GoPro on my head and fought this one kid, Tyler. Dude, it's a sobering
I
experience to
bet.
fight a black belt.
Bet.
This kid had feet. This guy had feet too. You see at the end, and if I didn't back up, man, it would have been
Your head off.
right across the fucking dome. He would have kicked my head off. And he was good. He was going at it. I said, come at me too, man. He's all right. And it was just to see that perspective, for most people will never see that. Here's what it looks like to fight a black belt. And now you're talking the next level is they're
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
kill
it's the
you.
difference between somebody trying to
Just the
kick
level of
you and
black
somebody
belt.
trying to take out your eyeballs. You know?
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
game, man.
Yeah.
Instead of me trying to punch you, I'm trying to see
And
how far I can stick
Jocko
my
plays on
fingers
that.
inside of your throat so I can rip your throat out or something. It's a completely different game.
And
Yeah,
Jocko's played
yeah,
in both
yeah.
worlds.
He wants to be
He's
that
played in both
warrior. I'm
worlds.
glad that's
Great.
the game they play.
He is the warrior. He's a different level. He's a warrior that trains warriors.
Well, yeah, you
Not
got to
only
be
is a warrior that
commander
trains
after a
warriors,
while. Yeah,
right? He's a warrior. He was a warrior first. Then he had to train warriors. Then you got mentors like he's a warrior. He's a grunt. Everybody starts off a grunt. You don't get in the Navy SEALs not being a grunt. That's just not how things work. He was a grunt. He got up to the elite Navy SEALs. And then he was a Navy SEAL. Then he had to train somebody. He's been in it so long, he has to train somebody. Now he became leadership. He has to train the people that train people. That he has to, and sometimes that's why people don't get there. Some people are good at being the grunt. Some people are good at being the Navy SEAL. They're not good at training.
Well, that's kind of what I think.
They know all this stuff. They absorb all this stuff, but they don't have
That's
the
kind of
ability
what
to
I think
transfer
makes
it
him
to another human being.
special, though. Honestly,
That well, he's trained people, but he's trained trainers. That's a different level. There's no higher level
who
than
else? What
training
did he do?
trainers. After training trainers, that's all you do for the rest of your life. You just train trainers. That's what extreme ownership is about.
That's exactly what extreme ownership is about, right there.
Training trainers. He's teaching people
Well,
to
that's
teach.
the thing. The beauty is about somebody like him. It's this things that's it's so underappreciated. I think he pulls it in.
Are we still recording?
Yeah. But he pulls it in, right? Because he's not just the fucking meathead. He also did the SEAL shit, which is underwater demolition shit. It's math. It's all kind of hard shit you gotta use your brain for. And it's like he pulled both worlds together. And not many fucking people can do that at all.
No, not at all. No, it's the upper echelon of physical and mental prowess that a human can get to. It's the modern day samurai. It's the modern day
I always
samurai.
say it in my head, like he's the alpha and the omega, and just putting it together. But that is so. That's like That's what everybody should want to be. Somebody who is jacked but is smart. You know, he went for a fucking English major in college because he realized how much it would help him at his job, really. But it's like, how many people are willing to do that as a person himself too, who is like grunt oriented? You know, it's kind of like he never really left that phase, which is beautiful too. Because a lot of people, what that happens, a lot of people they get into the officer stuff, and then they start thinking they're entitled, and then they start thinking they're above people. And one of his biggest things that I really love is that humility trumps all. Humility trumps all. People respect it more. Humility trumps all.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and he's the epitome of that. But get him on the mats, he'll try and kill you.
He's the fucking standard, man. He's the fucking standard.
He's the standard. I don't disagree with that. I think people that have met him have realized they missed their potential.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of that out there. A lot of people that are.
You know what Jocko did? So when you're a Navy SEAL, you're a Navy SEAL first. You're an operator, but you have a main designation. What do you think his main designation when he was the grunt?
When he was a grunt? Well, it depends because they move up, right? Yes. I mean, I think his favorite, and I think every SEAL, and probably most people that go in active duty, favorite position, I think he said it was like an E5 gunner, right? Just being a fucking door kicker, just being a fucking gunner, that kind of shit, right?
But what was his designation when he was started in the Navy SEALs?
He was a radio guy,
you'll understand. Yeah, communications.
Well, that was when radios were still like old school a little bit too, so they had to know a lot of stuff.
You know, he in Extreme Ownership, he said he co-wrote it with somebody else, and you could tell this guy, Leif, and they said what he goes, Jocko would come in and start. He goes, okay, we're getting ready to go on a mission. They train. He goes like this, give me radios, and he just start messing up all the radios. All right, let's go. And then just, wait a minute, how am I going to communicate with the guy next to me, my commander? And then he said, and then in the book, he was saying that he was in a sniper position. So they go out at night. If they're going to do an operation, these guys would go out at night, and I call it God position, but it's, just the highest position, and you get to see wherever your guys are going, right? You're the highest position wherever your guys are going. And they'd have 2 or 3, and he goes, he was at one, and he took a shot at somebody. The Marines thought that they were shooting at him. So they started lighting up his position. And he said, I needed to talk to that tank commander. I didn't need to talk to my boss, and they were Navy SEALs. I didn't need to talk to Marine guy. I needed to talk to that guy right that second. And he dialed it in and got to that guy in that tank. He goes, cease fire, cease fire, cease fire. He goes, it's me, you freaking idiots. And that's what a good radio guy does. And that's what Jocko taught him. That probably saved his life. I mean, they were just, over there, it's just like a lead wall. It's about 3 feet, and you look over the edge, and it's cement.
Like a
Everything's
Jersey
cement
wall.
over there, right? Yeah, exactly. And they were just cutting this wall down. He was at the base of the wall. They're just cutting the wall down. He needed to talk to him. He would have died. And Jocko showed him how to talk to that tank commander, not Jocko, not Jocko's. I think they were offering support for the Marine Corps, not the Marine Corps equivalent. You need to talk to that tank commander.
Well,
so communications way more important in the military than
if you ever listen to him talk about those days, so he talks about it a bunch, but like when he came in was the 90s, and the 90s was kind of like a cold era for like active duty guys. There wasn't a lot fucking going on. Like they would do occasional shit like in random countries and stuff, but there was no like real thing going on. So what they were doing then was like crazy training, apparently. Like they were overtraining because they didn't know what situation they were going to be thrown into.
Well, what happens when there's a lull? There's always something that happens.
Well, their job is to be ready. So,
right. And then 2001 popped up. He was in the 90s. It was 10 years later. He's like, oh, geez, now I got a
like,
major
finally.
war. But think about it. Back then, there was nothing. What was it? What was the last major war we've been in?
Desert Storm would have been
before Desert Storm was Vietnam, I think.
Well, you had to
think of war. A war. Vietnam.
What about the Cold War?
That was 70s. There was no war. There was no bullets.
Right,
the Cold War was all
there was operations
building nuclear
and stuff
weapons
going on, right?
There's operations, but nothing
only
like
type Desert stuff,
Storm.
maybe.
Right, but there wasn't. What percent of the U.S. Army in 2020 was kids that wanted free school?
What about the wall? They tore down the wall in the 80s. There was probably some action around then, right?
There was no action. No action. No, it was President Reagan, one of my favorite presidents. Told Gorbachev at the time was the president at the time. It was really kind of an accident. They said, "Hey, listen, let's stop this stupid fucking nuclear arms. We have more arms than you. Let's stop that. It's hurting both of our countries." And then Gorbachev was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And then President Reagan said, "Let's keep going." And then he just, Russia folded. They were at a terrible point. The USSR was just folding.
Not much different than
he
today.
said, "Well, let's tear down the wall." And then Gorbachev said, "Let's tear down that wall." And that's that was a peaceful coming together of military superpowers. That was peaceful. There was nothing since the Vietnam War.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's like Desert Storm.
So Jocko could have.
Yeah.
People have joined the Navy SEALs, trained their whole lives, and not had any action.
That's
and retired.
So bummer for the dudes that want to see action, dude. That is the worst.
Yeah, and then Jocko got in at the right time. He was the right age. He became a commander at the right time. And he got put in Ramadi in
that's way
Iraq,
later, though. He joined in the 90s, and then he got action in the 2000s. That was way later.
But I don't think he got too much. Obviously didn't get too much action in the 10 years because, you only got a 20-year career.
Well, that's what I said. He was overtraining.
He was overtraining, but then he probably didn't see a lot of action back in there. It was probably his men that saw the action. The guys that he trained.
Yeah, I've always kind of questioned that a little bit. It's like, well, how much warrior shit did he do? Because I know a good part of what he did was commander shit. So,
well, he was a command. I'm sure he did operations. He's an operator. He did operations. More than certain he did. I don't know what he did during that war, but it was probably more command and.
Yeah.
Do you hear about the blue on blue?
Oh, his issue that he had.
No, there was in the book. Everybody definitely read the book.
It's a
Jocko Willink's.
Ramadi deal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he was. His guys were pinned down, and his guys were
This is the
pinned
story I
down.
thought you were telling actually when you went on to the other one.
Really,
Yeah, I thought this was the one that you were alluding to, but it was
his
different.
guys were pinned down, and he goes, "I'm coming," and he starts going after him, going after him. He goes, "There's a bunch of insurgents. They're heavily armed, and they're firing at us, and we're just locked down because they're usually going fours and eights." So I don't know how many people they had in the building. They're just fighting back. They're running out of ammo. And the Jocko just goes ceasefire. And then he hears a calm. He goes ceasefire. He comes walking in the fucking room and goes blue on blue. And then these guys go blue on blue, which means
Yeah, friendly fire.
you're fighting your people,
Yeah.
friendly fire. So it was the Marine Corps that was firing at them, and they just got pinned down. I mean, the war is hell, man. Just how many friendly fire kills there are in wars against us.
This is one of those big things that kids never think about when they're playing fucking Call of Duty.
Yeah, because you can't shoot your own
Yeah,
guy.
you have no
Yeah, you
idea
don't get
how
you don't get
easy
that
it is to
opportunity in
kill
real
your
war.
friends.
You don't get that opportunity in war, man. Once you let that
There's
bullet
no
go,
do-overs.
there's no do-overs.
That's one of the biggest things kids don't learn, I think, about life, because life is kind of just replay right now for everybody, whether it's a Call of Duty, you respawn, or in college, you get a chance to take the test again, or name a thing, right? But life typically hasn't been like that for people forever,
Agreed.
you know?
Agreed. This is a weird time.
It is.
This
The
is a weird
stakes are
time.
lower, seemingly, than they've ever been for a lot of people.
I just think it's the last 8 years, not 4 years. The last 4 years have been just crazy
Well, we
when
had
it
a
comes to
fucking
that. I heard
sleeping
they were I
president.
heard they were lowering standards in schools, or everybody gets good grades.
Well, they had a sleepy president there for a while, so.
It's Biden. I wonder what history is going to put him as a president.
Oh, he's the worst. He's the worst. I used to say Obama, but like the numbers that Biden has are just astronomical. Astronomical
I don't
amount of
think
damage, astronomical amount of waste, corruption, just going the wrong direction in so many different fucking ways.
so. You said Obama until now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you think your bias has something to do with it?
No.
Yeah, I do.
Well,
So
if
when
you
I
listen to
when I was
Thomas Sowell, and he'll also say that Obama was the worst president ever.
Thomas Sowell says Obama was the worst president.
And
I get
argue with him, motherfucker.
Thomas
I
Sowell
am
says
not
he was.
smart
That
enough
is a
to argue with
great
Thomas
take.
Sowell, so. But he's right, and he basically said as much, that he's just the most divisive fucking president ever. Like that's really when the country started being divided, right around then. He had Black Lives Matter. He invited to the White House, and a bunch of crazy shit the dude was doing, man.
I'd like
You
to
have to
see the
dig
Thomas
into it
Sowell.
more. See what Thomas Sowell said about him. You'll see it out there.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised you
Thomas
know who
Sowell
Thomas
saying that he
Sowell
was the
is.
worst
Actually,
president.
good for you.
Well, he's the. I don't know a lot about
You
him,
should.
but I've heard of him.
You should. You should really check him out. I heavily suggest it.
All right,
I think
we'll
that
see what
I've kind
happens
of
next
dubbed
week.
him in my brain as the smartest living human in matters dealing with people.
Society.
It matters dealing with people, because he's an economic guy by trade, right? Like that's how he's educated, but he just understands people on an innate level, and he can't sneak nothing by him. He's thoroughly researched. He doesn't talk out of his ass. He doesn't misspeak. He doesn't really put people down unless he feels they really deserve the shit. He doesn't let people lie about history, because he's fucking pretty well studied on whatever, right? He's been battling libtards his whole goddamn life.
Paddling libtards.
Smart
Uh,
motherfucker, dude. I think Jordan Peterson would kind of be right behind him as far as like smart.
whoa,
Yes.
whoa. Let's back this straight.
No.
Are you trying to say that Thomas Sowell
Is the smartest
is
living human
smarter
as
than
far as matters dealing with people?
Jordan Peterson is beyond brilliant?
Yeah, but he's also has a lot of holes in his game too.
How? Show me a hole.
I give you one recently that kind of bugged me. There was a debate between him and Dawkins that Alex O'Connor moderated, and I hate when he does this shit because they asked him, and he was like, "Well, do you believe that God was a real person?"
God? See? In God's vote, he leaves.
But we're good. So where was I talking about? Oh, Jordan. So, because he dances around shit, right? There's a lot of times where he won't answer questions directly, and that shit is irritating as hell. Like they
The
kept
only question I've ever
asking
heard him
him
answer.
if I think it was like Jesus. I'd be like, "What do you think?" Or something to the effect, right? And he's like, do you think it was real? It really happened, or do you think it's like mythologically important?" And he's like, "Well, it doesn't really matter if it was, he gets into this weird shit where he just won't fucking answer the question.
He won't answer. He won't answer the question of is Jesus your Lord and Savior?
Like the
He will
religious
not
thing.
answer
And
that
he's
question.
like, he's like, live as if God is real, is an answer that he often gives.
But yeah, but that's his answer. He doesn't say that God is real. He doesn't say that Jesus is real. He knows the
Oh, what
truth.
is the
He
truth? I'm
knows the
curious.
truth. But he will. Uh, what? So
What is the
what
truth? I'm
did you just say now?
curious.
God is real. Jesus is Lord, and the
That
majority of the
depends on
Bible
who
is
you
true.
ask.
The Bible is it's the written word of God. It's the
Well,
inspired word
that's
of,
the
not the
Christian
written word.
interpretation.
It is, but Jordan knows the truth, and here
Uh,
you know why he knows the
why?
truth.
Why he what?
But the kicker is he wanted to admit it. So his wife was going to die. His wife had this illness that 1 out of 100 million people get. Right? She had this certain cancer. She was going to die. She was going to die, and he was like a Catholic, so he kind of he believed. But when he came into his wife's room, it was getting bad. She was getting ready to leave, I think, that week. And then she said, God told me that I'm going to be cured. I'm going to be fine. And Jordan just, he's a doctor, a man of science. He didn't know that. He goes, no, in his mind, he said, no way. He said, no way. He said, my wife's going to die. She got up and walked out of there, and the cancer is gone. Every doctor that looked at her said, this is impossible. So he knows. He has the evidence in front of him. He knew. He prayed to God to say, save my wife. And it happened. So he's got the evidence in front of him. Why he won't admit that is
I
beyond my
think
comprehension. He just goes, I don't like the question.
I don't think
I don't
that's
like the question.
evidence.
You don't think science says you're dead? You don't think that's evidence? How is it not evidence?
I think the
This
power
is a
of
great one.
belief is the most powerful power that people might have.
Okay. What
They
made her
did.
believe that? No,
You
it's
can
God.
say that.
She didn't say it, my own power of belief. She didn't say my own
No,
power of
but
belief.
a lot of people, like just the same way that a lot of people use a
So her
mask
belief,
to be someone else.
no, she said, God
Okay.
told her belief in God, not her belief in self, her
Well,
belief in that it's
people
going to
people can
disappear.
call it whatever they want, but
But you don't think do you
absolutely,
think
it's
that's
a
a miracle?
miracle.
Okay. All right, cool. The only debate we have is that if it was God. Okay,
And
that's a good
and
debate. I love the debates.
I'm
Believes in
not even
God,
against the
spirit.
God idea. Kind of, all right, fine, let's dig into it. But kind of where I'm at these days is that I think people find their way to God and religion gets in the way.
Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
That's
Wholeheartedly. What are you
that's
talking
where
about?
I'm
Yeah,
at.
that's one of the
I've heard Jordan
fundamentals
Peterson say this before. He's like,
of the
the
problem.
institution of the church almost prevents the spiritual experience from happening. Isn't it,
That's
though?
great terminology.
It's so
Great
true, though.
terminology.
It's like,
It is.
it's
I
so
agree
true.
wholeheartedly.
Because it's
I
like,
agree.
and as soon as you put somebody between regular people and God, shit gets weird. And you know, like back in the day, that the pastors never used to be not allowed to marry. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Well,
but
pastors
now they're
are to marry
not. But there was a
now.
time before where they didn't care. They would let them marry. They would let them do their own thing.
You're talking about priests. Pastors can
Yeah, I
marry
don't know.
priests. So the Catholic, Protestant and Catholic's religion's the one that spawned from Rome with the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. And they were the superpower up to about 25 AD after the death of Christ, and they started the Catholic religion. Catholic religion is a great religion, don't get me wrong, but like you said, as soon as you put someone between man and God,
Shit gets weird,
that
man.
screws everything up. And it just screws everything up. I mean, here's the crazy part. You put all these rules on how to talk to God. The Jewish people were given the 10 Commandments, right? The laws. They made 110 laws over those 10 laws. Of course, they're smarter than
Obviously,
God.
obvious.
I mean, hey, obviously, they know God better than God does, right? You give them 10 laws, just basically
You
don't
know, that's
kill
kind of
people and don't be a
strange though,
dick.
because I was going
But
to tell
yeah,
you that like a second ago, it seems like the Christian interpretation is a lot of interpretation, as to where the Jewish reading is a lot more literal. That's what a big difference seems to be, is
I
that
think,
the Jews believe the shit that's in there happened, and Christians believe that, like, yeah, it's just a good story to teach you a good lesson, kind of thing. Not as real as the
well,
Jews believe
I,
the
I,
book is.
well, there's two different books. There's the Torah, and then there's
Well, it all comes
the
from the
Bible,
Torah, though,
which is
don't
the
it?
Torah and the New King. This is the hard part. So yes, the answer to your question is 100% right. But the Jesus came to give a new commandment, and what he was doing was, the Jewish people, they have the Torah, and it's only for Jewish people. And if you want to be saved, you have to become Jewish. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, there's
Only
supremacy.
Jews are saved, right? And Christian, so you had to do all these laws, you had to sacrifice, you had to do all this stuff to get to heaven. And when Jesus came in, it's just totally radical. And he said, I'm going to make it as simple as possible for you. You don't have to do a thing, but believe in me. He goes, I'm going to go do this horrific thing. And if you believe I did it, and I am who I say I am, just believe will get you in. Not the law, not following the law your whole life. Because if you don't follow the law for your part of your life, you might not get in. And every religion teaches the same thing except that one. That's the one that really is insane. That if you just believe in him, he'll
That
invite you in.
sounds like
It's
utopian shit.
insane.
So it sounds.
It's insane. But he had to go die in a horrific way for that to become true, because he had to live a sinless life and then die, because everybody said nobody could do it, and he had to do it. Then he had to die sinless. So by dying sinless, you've overcome sin. And if you believe that he did that for that, if he died for sin, he went to the cross and died for your sins, not just your sins, not just my sins, not just for your kids, your wife, my kids, anybody we know, for sin itself. He conquered sin, which is insane. Now, what is sin? What is
Well,
sin?
it's to miss the mark.
It's to miss the mark. Yeah, you've heard me say that. And
I've heard Jordan say that.
I haven't told you yet. Yeah, it's to miss the mark.
Mm-hmm.
It's an archery term.
Mm-hmm.
When you pull back your bow and then you fire and you hit a bullseye, you have not sinned. So when you do something perfectly, you haven't sinned. Everybody sins all the time. All right. And most people, when they sin, when they do something wrong, it's this huge weight on them. I did this wrong. I don't deserve
Shame.
this. I don't deserve that. And shame. Right. Shame. Right. Shame from sin, from missing the mark. And most people are just beating themselves up. And he says, here's your freedom. Believe in me, you don't have to worry about sin. And when I accepted Christ, it was just this huge weight. And everybody says the same thing. When you accept Christ into your heart, that's all he wants is your heart.
Just your soul.
You accept him into your heart, you just get the freedom.
Just your soul.
Heart. Just your heart. Just your heart. And then he frees you from that. And it's the craziest thing that ever experienced happen to me.
Okay.
It hasn't happened to you yet.
I think more and more about this stuff, and it's like I've heard people talk about when they read the Bible that it like evokes feelings inside of them and stuff, and it's like, I guess, whatever. It's like oh, you muted yourself again somehow.
Have you ever read the Bible? Well, then you can't be moved by it.
Obviously. Yeah.
Right? So, and there's a problem with that. You know, the math isn't there.
Ain't mathing.
The math ain't, no, you got to, you see people have, you know, and you want to hear about one time I heard the word and it helped me immensely.
Tell me how this is different from hearing something from like Marcus Aurelius that's really poignant in your life right now. And it just kind of makes things click for you, you know? Tell me how it's different.
Right. Let me tell you the story, and I'm going to say it's the timing. It's the time. Marcus Aurelius I could have read, and 5 years later, oh yeah, it helped me out. You know, that's a good point, right? So, I listened to Christian radio for a while, and I put the Bible in my CD, and I'm driving all the time, so I just heard it, and it was like New Testament.
You didn't read it either,
crazy.
then.
And I heard it again.
To it.
Oh, crazy. Well, I did listen to it, but you got to hear the story. You're gonna like this because violence was involved. I was a martial artist, so I was probably a red belt at the time, and I had this guy working for me, and he was a hothead, and he loved to get in fights. Construction, makes sense. So he told me that he's gonna come over and talk to one of the guys I'm working with. He owes him money. He owes this guy money. Call him Jerry. Jerry was owed money by this other guy, my buddy Rich. And then he goes, if you know what's good for you, you're not going to show up to work tomorrow. I was like, I got to show up for work. So I got there early. And he told my friend, give me some money. And my friend went out to the car and said, you can't cash a check for a week or something. And I was on a ladder. I go, all right, you got what you want. Now get the fuck out of here. He kicked the ladder out from under me. A drill in my hand. I fell and I used the drill. I broke the drill by hitting the ground. And then I got up and I was fucking pissed. I grabbed him and threw him against the fucking wall and put my hands up. I said, let's go, motherfucker. This is on my job site. I'm the boss. This is the worst possible scenario for me. And he goes, no, I don't want to. And he gets up and leaves. And I was at a level of pissed off I haven't been to in years. I hop into my car, I turn on the car, and the radio comes on and says, you know what it says in the good book about anger? Don't keep company with an angry man because it is a snare unto your soul. That was the first words out of it when I sat in that car. And then all that anger and all that thing just dissipated. I'm like, thanks. So Marcus really could have done something and said something. It's great, don't get me wrong. But the timing that I needed at the right particular time, that's when
you're getting into fate then, with shit like that. No, fate.
Yeah, fate.
Fate
or faith?
Because it was like fortuitous that it happened. It was like, it was meant to be that I heard the thing after the thing happened. It's like, oh, it's just fate. Oh, yeah, that's the way my life was going to go. See, that I needed that thing after the thing.
Well, what if it's he knew what I needed at the right time?
So you're a fatalist.
So our big debate here is: do you believe in manifest destiny?
Manifest destiny. Well, define it.
Yeah, that everything you do in your
that's
life
fatalist
is predetermined.
To me in my head.
It's manifest
absolutely
destiny.
Not.
Okay, so you believe that you have control of your life.
If you are
and outside influences have outside
If
influences have
you are
influence
a
on you.
fatalist, you don't believe in free will.
Okay. Well, I'm not a fatalist.
That's where that breaks down for me.
Right. Right.
I
So
believe in
I
free
believe
will.
in free will. Right. I was about ready to make some mistakes. And I heard this word that I heard in the Bible when I was playing it at the right time, right when I needed it, waiting for me
That was
when I
after the
turned on.
fact. That
And
wasn't
mind you,
before the
Joyce
fact.
Meyer was on. I already got mad. Well, you can't.
You could have really used it
Sometimes
before the fact.
he allows you to. So do you want God to let you have the easiest life possible, or something
This is
challenging and
like
hard to over?
superstitious level of timing you're going with here.
Why?
Because you wore your lucky socks. I don't know. You tell me why.
I think it was. You think it was. You think it was just. You think. Yeah. Well, you don't believe it was God.
Yeah.
I do. That's really what it boils down to.
That's
It's like,
so
and beauty
varied
is,
though, because there's so many things that you'll go through in life and be like, that could have only happened that way. Yeah, no shit. Life is like that. It's crazy. It's chaotic.
There's billions of these stories. There's billions of these stories, and you're gonna think it's chance. There's billions of these stories, and you're gonna think it's chance.
Stories?
That's the craziest statement
I
I've
don't think
ever
there's
heard in my
billions of
life.
these stories.
Oh, billions. There's billions. The Jordan Peterson mine. I got 50, 60 of those stories on a daily basis. When you get used to miracles, that's when you're in a good spot. You know anything about, dude, I could tell you story after story after story after story after story after story after story that I can prove. But if you don't believe God was involved, then it's just irrelevant.
But it sounds like
when you ask God to do something that's impossible.
It sounds like you're looking for God
happened,
in everywhere, though.
I don't know if he is everywhere,
That's
because there's evil in this world. That's a bias, 100%. But when you ask for the impossible and it happens, what's the probability of that? So, do you believe in evolution or intelligent design?
I think they're one and the same.
Do you think God did it?
Define God.
The individual that created all this.
So he's a person?
Individual. Person. He's a spirit.
Okay.
Which we are spirits too. Now we got to get into the body, mind, and soul. So he's a spirit.
So a lot of people, I think the closest thing I could think that most people are thinking when they say God is they are thinking source energy. Does that fit?
Another word.
Does that fit?
Another word for God. That fits. Source energy. Right, but you think it was an intelligent design, not an accident.
You mean the universe?
Yes.
Who fucking knows?
Us. The universe and everything in it would be us.
Knows?
These meat suits we carry around for about 80 years.
Who the fuck knows? I don't know. I don't know how it gets here. I guess you would use God to make what it is here. But I think that people heavily underestimate the ability of things to settle in a balance. I think that,
settle in a balance?
Like even in outer space, gases have to come together to form planets and this and that, right?
Gravity.
Balance. Like gravity. It has to be in a perfect balance to even do anything. Like if we were farther from the sun, right, then we wouldn't have life.
1 degree. Yeah. 1 degree farther from the sun. 1 degree closer to the sun.
But is it the same way how a fish's lung or gills work perfectly? This is the same way that an owl's eyesight is incredible.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, the complexity of the universe. Okay. So let's boil this down, because there's way too much out there for that. If you were walking down maybe I've told you this. So if you're in a desert and you're walking around in the desert and the sand kicks out, you see a watch. You pick up the watch. It's a Rolex. What are you going to think? What are you going to think? Where that watch
some bodies a little farther. I don't know.
Would it be, I would think it's like a sheep that dropped it in a camel or something, or driving around or doing something fun and his watch fell off, right? How stupid would it think? How stupid would you think if I said, hey, listen, so all the elements are there to make that watch. The leather's from a camel, the diamonds are sand that have been So over time and chance, that watch came to be. I just
Going
picked
to
it
the
up. What would you say
probabilities.
to me? What are the probabilities of that?
What are the probabilities of anything?
What's the probability of the sand, the sun, and everything creating that watch? 50-50?
Astronomically low.
Okay, astronomically low, right? Almost zero. Would you go almost zero? Because of the intelligent design of this watch, because of the complexity, its power source, right? You'd have to yield to the fact that sand, time, and chance could not have created that. The complexity of the
Time and
universe
chance
is
couldn't have
so
created that.
complex, way more than no time and chance could not have
You ever
created that.
hear
Almost
the
zero.
argument for the God in the
And they
gaps? So God in the gap.
sounds like a stupid argument
This
starting up.
is exactly my point.
God of the gap.
So today we have science, right?
Yes, you always said science.
Yeah, I guess we had sundials. I guess that's science.
When you rub two sticks together, and discover fire,
So we had a
that's
sundial.
science.
Was that science? I guess.
Yeah, at the time it
Whatever.
was.
Alchemy, I guess, right? That's kind of. But today we have science. Today we understand what the northern lights are. This the poles, right? The poles are doing that thing with the sunlight.
Refraction of
It's
light
yeah,
in
it's
the
twisting
poles.
it up in a weird way. It's shooting out green shit, whatever, right? But if I was alive at any other point in history, that would have been enough for me. Like, oh God, yeah, this is God. Yeah, got it.
So are you saying northern lights aren't
Northern
God?
lights, we just said what they were. They're refractals from the sunlight. They're
Right.
all that.
Right. So who created that?
What? Or who? What'd you say? Who created that? I
Who
don't know. I haven't
created
met
that?
him yet.
Yeah, I know.
I
want to
know
introduce you.
that person pretty well. Or whatever that thing is, but
whatever that thing is, I call him God. I don't know what you call
I
him.
guess God, whatever. I'm fine with God. I told you I'm fine with the God thing. It's the religious shit that fucking I hate it.
Dude, my point is God created the universe with such precision.
Let me tell you the rest of this because this is relevant to any because this is what it seems like you're doing when you're finding all these little synchronicities, right? So anytime before this era, I'm like, oh yeah, God, right there. Why is the sky green tonight? I have no fucking idea. This must be God. It has to be God, right? Nobody can fucking tell you why. And this is the God in the gaps argument. God used to be, before science, where they would insert everything that they couldn't understand. They didn't understand something, it must be God. Then and as science comes out, it slowly disproves all this shit, even to the point now where it's going in the quantum world, right? And so
he made that some individual made that quantum.
Why is that not just where the piece is laid, and that's how things are now?
Time and chance.
Why is it not where the piece is laid?
The argument of time and chance.
Well, balance.
Time and chance. You believe that the watch was made by the time and chance of the sand.
No, the watch was made by the human that made it.
The intelligent design.
That was a creation, I assume, of a human, yeah.
Right. Intelligent design. God created the universe just as man created that watch. That is just a logical conclusion.
Yeah, I guess.
So you're saying the God in the gaps is still the God. It's like you said, the Northern Lights.
You know how people used to be a long time ago. Everything they couldn't understand, they used to attribute it to God.
Right. And they were right. Because they didn't understand it, God still made it. That's my point.
I would say if I was betting that if there's a God, he's more closely to do with humans than maybe the creation of the universe.
He had to create the universe so he had to create the universe for these humans to be playing in. Here's my synopsis. Okay? This universe was created by God, and anybody that says if it was created, the person that did it would have to be called God. So God created this universe, and he lets his people play in it for about 80 years. This is like a short-term mission trip. It's about 80 years. You get to play in this that he designed. And he gave you a good book, an operating manual called the Bible.
The storybook?
To navigate
Hold
an
on now.
operating
You're
manual.
kind of
So
going back to
whenever
what you
you
said,
have
because you
any...
said that it was like
No, I'm saying
a
operating manual.
collection of stories that kind of point you in the right direction, and it's not too literal. But now it's an operating
Correct.
manual, which is super literal.
So whenever I have problems in my life, and when I heard the New Testament, it always has a solution to it. So I would consider it like an
Or I could say
operating
the same
manual
thing about
for this.
maxims or quotes. They're a
Do they have all the
condensation
answers?
of information to kind of get at something that you might not understand, or you might.
But do they have all the
I've got enough
answers?
of them where I think I got them all.
Then I would have to say that you must be doing great in this world.
I mean, I'm poor, but other than that, I'm doing okay.
Okay. But what I'm saying, yeah, that's what I'm trying to illustrate is I don't have all the answers. I never do. I'm an idiot. I know I'm an idiot, without a doubt. But I know somebody that does have the answers. Whenever I have a problem,
I'm not ready to outsource yet. Maybe, like, no.
You're not ready to outsource that. When you are, let me know.
I gotta have faith in what
Hey,
I
dude,
can do.
we're
I can't have hope in things. The hope is not a strategy. It's not.
Hope is not a
It's
strategy.
not.
So you're saying faith
is hope.
Is a strategy. Faith and hope. What's the difference between faith and hope? Faith to me isn't something else.
You always hope. You have some
hope
else that's outside of yourself as well.
I'd like to get the two words up and see the dictionary and see the differentials. But my weirdest time in my life is as I did judo, and my judo instructor was a fourth dan and was a yellow belt, and I was pretty good at it. When I rolled with him for the first couple times, he goes, "You got good instincts." I go, "Cool." He's kind of like you. He's a big guy, about your size, and I stood little chance. He just wanted to play, and wanted to teach. One day he was showing a move, and so I started guarding where you just grab the leg and you flip the dude, and his legs go up and goes down. And he's a staunch atheist. I say atheist, preaching atheist. He's a preaching atheist, right? He went to churches to debate scholars. He's a preaching atheist. There is no God. There is no God. I'm like, dude, I told him about the watch. I'm like, man, yeah. I go, odds are you're wrong. Should put it that way. Odds are you're wrong. And he was talking about this technique, and he was got to have faith in the technique. And I just looked at him, and I said, something about you saying that word. He goes, no. He goes like this. He goes, no, I'm using the right word. I go, I know, but most people use the word faith for it. You're using it. And you're a staunch atheist. It was the craziest word I've ever heard come out of his mouth.
Well,
using the word faith.
Crazy.
It was because the majority, faith, he was right. You had to get faith in the technique to pull your body into that technique. Right?
I think the distinction you're missing here is if faith can be in yourself or faith can be outside of yourself.
Right.
And
the majority of the time people talk about faith. I refuse to
put my faith in anything that isn't me because I'm the only one here on this planet that's looking out for me.
That's incorrect. Well, that's the incorrect part. God is actively seeking you out, and his favor will chase you down.
How's he taking care of Gaza right now? Yeah, God. How's he handling Gaza right now?
So are you saying there's no evil in this?
Oh, there's definitely evil.
So God's trying to protect his people, and he gives a good book. And I hate to say it, that is being fought over about.
Good thing he's around.
He's around.
Yeah, he's got everybody pissed off at each other, fighting over him.
Is it him that are pissed off, or is it you? You said it best. You said I'm okay with the God thing, but it's just people get involved. The difference is relationship and religion is really basically it. I have a
Yeah,
relationship with God.
I'm fine with that. Especially
I
I eat my
like the
mushrooms,
religion,
dude. I
right?
am there.
There's some God experience in the
But I'll
mushrooms. Who
tell you
made the
this.
mushrooms?
So there's a guy, Constantine Kissin. You probably don't know who he is. Really sharp dude. Sat down with Jordan one day and he hit it on the head so hard. But he basically came in with intuition. And he said, what most people call God, I see as them replacing for intuition. Intuition.
Intuition.
Basically, it's kind of like there's
So you talk
knowledge
about
inside of you that you aren't completely aware of. And that's your intuition. And when people think they're talking to God, it could just be your intuition. And I so much resonate with that.
some
So
people.
much.
There's some people think that you talk to your intuition. There's another term for it. Your higher self, right? Would that be your intuition? Your higher
Not always, because you could have your like a whole cartoon, right? You have a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other. Could be your lower self you're talking to. That's
So
probably more animal self, right?
I actually teach on this too. The difference between God. There's obviously an enemy of God's the devil, Satan, and people have a hard time. Everybody hears something, an impression, a voice, or a term, or something pops up into your head.
But you also have your own inner voice
You could
too.
say that the inner voice is the one that puts it in front of you to your consciousness, right? So how do you know if it's God, the good side, or the enemy, the negative? Because there's impressions on you every day, or voices, or sounds, or something like that. How do you know if it's good or bad?
Well, I'll give you one funny. So Mel Gibson was talking with Rogan recently. He said that you're responsible for, yeah, he
Gibson
always
seems a little
has been though.
crazy.
But he said that you're responsible for your second thought and your first action. You're not responsible for your first thought because your first thought is usually like ego driven, right? It seems the case of like somebody cuts you off. He's like, "Fuck you, I'm up." Oh, hold on. And now he'll calm down and be like, all right, now what's going on? Was this my fault or was it? So then you kind of stabilize, right? So he's like, you're responsible for your second thought and your first action, not your first thought. I thought that was pretty cool because that could be your little angel and devil on the shoulder right there.
How can you tell the difference?
Well, I mean, if I was to break it down, I'd say emotion and logic, right? Emotion and reason. Your emotional thing
That's a
is
good
going
way
to be
to
your
know.
monkey brain jumping into action first, and then
That's a good way
second
to think
it'll
about
be
it.
your reason. Your logic will kind of come in and be like, what is actually going on
Well,
here? Well, just don't let me get angry for no or for that. Yeah, you know what I mean?
yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just got a different way of saying that. So what I would say is, you can tell if the enemy talks to you or good side talks to you is what they
So
say.
just the
Whenever
words used, then not the angle, not the
yes,
because
well, you can
they
tell.
could
All
both
you
say
can
the
do is
same
tell
thing in
it's
that
who said
sense,
it.
and one would be like "fuck that guy," and the other one would be like "that guy."
Right.
If it's just in how it's said, right? Because that could be a
Right. So, like, if I hear something in my head, and I know, and it's in the good book, it says God says go do this. He never says try or this or that.
well, there is no
He goes
try.
go do this. He tells there is no try. Yeah. And whenever I hear a voice, go try this, or that girl's beautiful, or that guy needs his ass kicked, I know who said it. That's the negative side. And then what
Why
I
is it
do is I
negative?
answer them, and I say,
Why is it negative?
well, because I'm married, and for
Well,
the girl to be beautiful, that I don't
go
need to
kick
know
that
that.
guy's ass. That doesn't necessarily.
If I
Yeah, that
go
doesn't
kick that
necessarily
guy's
mean it's
ass,
negative. Maybe he needs his ass kicked.
it's great. He might need his ass kicked. but I have systems and process for that. He has to come at me first. Then he gets what he wants.
Well, that's not
But
always how it
whenever I hear
works.
the negative voice, I answer him and say, "Yep, thank you, because you said it. I know it's not true. You're not going to get this job. You're not going to get
That's all
this. This
down.
isn't going to happen." Whenever I hear those, well, that's the negative
Why?
side.
Why isn't it reason?
That's the enemy. To me, that's the enemy.
Why
To
isn't
me,
it
that's the
reason?
enemy.
It could be a valid thing that you're not going to get that job.
Do you believe anything's possible? Do you believe anything's possible?
Anything?
Yeah. You just said Jordan Peterson, the miracle of his wife, who was named Tammy, same name as my wife, got up out of a
Dude, I could
hospital.
put you on to some shit if you really wanted to
sense.
go down that road that you're talking with the miracles and shit. I could put you on to some shit that I've been staring at for years that I'm so torn on it.
What
I
is it?
sent you this video a long time ago.
Resend it. Well, I might have seen it. What is it?
Dr. Joe Dispenza is the guy's name. I sent you some stuff with him a while back. He was talking to Lewis Howes, I think, but he was kind of describing how people heal through love. Essentially. And this is actually where it got weird, because I was like, all the stuff I was talking about with him, and then you brought up the fact, you were like, yeah, Jesus said he never healed anybody. He said that he brought them to heal themselves in some fashion.
He said it's your faith that needs you.
It wasn't him, though. This is the power of belief thing that I was getting after earlier.
Yes. Yeah, he was trying to show people that.
The power of belief might be the most powerful power that people can have. And that's what his wife Tammy had, was the power of belief.
Right. So you said something that power of love heals.
Yeah, well, dude, it's some high vibe shit.
Right? Did you say something like that? So do you think Jesus loved people and helped heal them?
I don't know what he did. I know a lot of people in that day viewed him as just another guy, though. Because he because he was from Egypt and stuff, right? And they knew that Egypt was all into some woo-woo shit. And they knew that there was a lot of people who trained and did things back then. Maybe went to Tibet, maybe did some weird shit. And they considered him like an average Egyptian in that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think the 12 disciples that followed him for the rest of their lives and then died most of them died a horrible, horrific death because they said that he was the Messiah. I would say that's evidence that the people in the day thought
I heard the argument. People don't die for lies. Whatever. If they believed it, it doesn't really matter. Even if it was wrong. If they believed it, they would still die from it.
No. I don't know if people would die for things they don't believe.
I didn't say they didn't believe it.
I could be wrong.
I'm just saying, even if they were wrong, if they believed it, they would die for it. You know, it's kind of like to say, no man who ever went to war thought he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Told you, I got a quote for everything, motherfucker.
You do. On that note, we better sign off.
Okay, I'll give you one more, though. I was going to pull this up earlier because I was thinking about it with the media and stuff. But this goes great with the religion, too.
Media.
So there's a guy out there. He's dead now, probably. His name's Eric Holfer. I don't know the guy much, but he says, every great cause begins as a movement, becomes a business, and eventually degenerates into a racket. And religion is no different. And media is no different. And the government is no different.
We just happen to have the best of it right now.
Well, not the best, because it's getting fucking sideways, but hopefully it's coming back.
That's what I'm saying. Right now, we're in a different
realm than we were 3 weeks ago.
We're in a different spot in history.
Well, hey, the Pope is still...
I anticipated Joe Biden winning and then us going into recession.
Well, that sounds like common sense more than anticipation. But the Pope is still hiding perverts in his house, so it degenerates into a racket, man.
The Pope. I don't think the Pope's
Well, he
hiding
moves
perverts
these
into.
cardinals and
Oh,
bishops all around. What about the one who molested the boys and then he sent them to a deaf boy school? Then he molested all the deaf boys or whatever the fuck that was.
I don't know
Yeah,
about any
let's
of that, but
go. We want to go.
I know there's evil. I know there's evil in this world. I know there's evil in this world.
That's a
And I've seen a lot of it in the religious. Like I'm not a fan of religion. I'm a fan of relationship.
relationship. Well, I like the way that sounds better than this
Yeah.
goddamn Bible, I gotta say.
Well, the Bible we're talking about, all it teaches is one thing: is to have a relationship with God. In the whole book, it's teaching about relationship with God, and then man gets involved and screws
It's
it up.
teaching to have a relationship with God. I think closer to it's teaching the ways of the universe, right? Like a lot of this stuff
Secrets
is
in
like
it.
stories
Secrets.
about people, like cautionary tales and things.
Yes, to relate
Yeah.
into your life. The owner's manual. The owner's manual. But the best way the best way to describe it is like every book in there is talking about how to either experience of talking to God or how to talk to God.
Isn't that praying? Isn't that essentially praying?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
when you're talking to
Jesus said he
God,
came
how do you know you're
to
not just talking to your intuition?
radical things happen when you
Radical
talk to
things
God.
could happen when you talk to your intuition, because if you were to think about your intuition, it could, on some level, be your subconscious.
It could be your subconscious, but your
I
subconscious
don't
could be
think the
wrong.
subconscious is ever wrong.
Well, then that would be God.
That's your subconscious, and that's your
Then you're
intuition,
talking to
though.
God. I think your subconscious
I
could be wrong a
don't.
lot.
I really don't. I so don't.
Then you're
I
talking
tell
about
you, I
God.
do my little mushroom trips, dude, and I go deep, man. Internally, I'll dive deep, and I've told you this before, but here, fucking, I'll say it again. But the biggest thing I think that they gave me is conviction. I stopped
That's a
doubting
good thing to
things
have.
that I knew, and I can't help but say it's intuition and it's subconscious. It's shit that precognitive.
Uh,
Yeah,
it's shit
yeah.
that you know.
So you want to dive deep? We can dive deep.
Who are you talking to? Who are you
Precognitive.
talking to? And then who are
Before
you talking to?
your brain, before your brain is involved.
Your
Yeah, your
subconscious, right?
subconscious.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too far off from God.
Yeah, well, I think people use them interchangeably. It's the intuition. It's the intuition
I
all
can see
over
that.
again.
Yeah, well, intuition, or you say you're talking to somebody. I would say you're talking to God or
No,
the
like
enemy,
you're
one
looking
or the
for
other.
answers. So you're kind of conversing with yourself. It's kind of the self talk that you'll do on a daily basis, but like on a deep dive version.
Why is it then psychology says if you're talking to yourself, you're crazy?
Well, because there are those people. You'll see the tweaker going down the street. He's not talking to God. That dude's lost his marbles, man.
Who is he talking to? Is
He's
he
talking
talking
to
to
one of his
himself?
several personalities.
Well, if he's
Well,
talking to
Self is
self,
talking to Tom, and Tom is talking to Tony, and they're all talking to each other.
how far is that off from talking to your higher self?
All right, well, you're getting into madness.
What is the difference between madness and talking to yourself?
Well,
That's my point.
I guess there is a level that is just thinking, because on some level, in order to think things through, you're going to play chess, right? You're going to have this conversation in your head on some level.
So the correct answer is somebody answers.
Well,
And
that
it's
was
not
what you were
you.
looking for. I'm not
One
getting
friend of mine said, I got to stop
it.
smoking weed. Friend of mine says, I got to
Yeah.
stop smoking weed. And I go, why? He goes, I'm talking to myself. I go, well, if you think
You're
about
like,
it,
well,
just like
that's
it's
normal, but
exactly what you
somebody's
said.
answering.
Right. You gotta, you gotta reason things out. You're having a conversation with yourself. Because no, someone's answering. I'm like, oh shit.
That's
If someone's answering,
that's
it's
just
not you, then you
paranoia.
gotta stop.
That
You gotta
weed will
stop
bring
doing
on
weed.
some paranoia and make you think.
Well, he stopped and it was better for him.
Yeah, well, paranoia is probably not good for anybody, really.
Yeah, that's true too.
Hey, man,
Well,
good
listen, G
talk.
Money,
Good
I
talk.
gotta
We
let
have
you
to do
go.
this next week. I didn't really pull
Good
nothing up.
talk.
I have all
This
kinds
is
of
gonna
little
be
biblical stuff in here
this
for
is gonna be two sessions. This is gonna be 5 and
you.
6, right?
No.
Yeah, this is 2.5
Yeah, I
hours,
don't know
bro.
what it is. I think it's
10 to
two.
11:30, 9 to 11:30.
Yes, sir.
Good talk, brother. Great deal on bold
Bold
ideas. And
ideas.
Mike
Check in with your
Ladino, Mike the man out.
subconscious. We're out of here.
Oh man, I'm gonna go work on that right now in bed.
See ya.
Ciao, brother.